The following was paid for by Palmetto Alfa Romeo.
This is the Sunday Express with Gary Allen, your 360-degree look at the world. Now, here's your host, Gary Allen.
And welcome, everybody, to the Sunday Express. Gary Allen with you here on 880 The Biz. Looking forward to the holiday season, as I'm sure all of you are. I hope you've had a wonderful week since the last time that we spoke, which was last Sunday at 5 p.m. Just a quick warning, I will not be with you next week. I'm moving on Friday, and I don't know whether I'm going to be up electronically or not to be able to do the show, so we're going to play one of the repeats from the first 3 weeks. And it's going to be up to Regan, whatever he decides to do. But to all of you out there, I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and a Happy New Year, and I will see you on the other side. We got great guests, much like who we have on today's program. But again, this is the Sunday Express here on 880 The Biz. Gary Allen with you, and I am pleased to always be with you in the afternoons on Sunday. It's been a great football day, some close games, and so let's take it from the very top in a sense and tell you a little bit about my guest. First off, she's also a dear friend of mine, someone who I love dearly. Fran Capo is a motivational speaker, comedian, adventurer, ordained minister, which I didn't know, 19-time author, spokesperson, consultant, 6-time world record holder, known as by the Guinness Book of World Records as the fastest talking woman around. She has also appeared on over 4,500 radio shows and 450 TV shows, including Meredith Vieira, The Entertainment Tonight, Nick at Night, Good Morning America. She's authored so many books that we're going to talk about. One in particular, Hopeville, The City of Light, is being touted as an amalgamous meets Thick and Grow Rich as the number one on the... somebody's trying to call me here, and I don't know who that is, but okay, well, we'll forget about it. Anyway, she has also eaten fire, crawled in a polar bear den. She's also climbed to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. She has also... been down to the wreck of the Titanic. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Fran Capo. Fran, welcome to the Sunday Express, and thank you so much for being here.
Hey, how are you? I'm doing great. I hear people read the intro. I go, I got to send a shorter one. Yeah.
No. We can't have short ones on you, my love. We can't have short ones on you. For people who are unfamiliar with you, and I know you for so many different things, and you and I have been friends for many, many years, and you are truly one of the few women in this world that I can classify as the love that I really, really love, and I'm jealous of your husband, and you know that.
One day I'll let him hear you say that, yeah.
Well, it's okay. He's up there. I'm down here. I mean, dear, he's not going to come for me. Or, anyway, Fran, where did this all begin? I've never asked you this question. Were you always energetic growing up as a child? In other words, always getting into things, inquisitive? Because you're an adventure junkie. You're also a highly intelligent woman. You're a very clever woman. You're a very funny lady. You're a great writer. I mean, where does it all come from? Some people can go through life and never tap into anything. You've tapped into I don't know what's left for you to tap into.
Who knows? I'm sure I'll figure it out. Maybe movies. Maybe I'll start doing movies after this, although I'm in movies. But
yes.
To answer your question, so the way that I got it, first of all, I was really lucky that my mom and dad had these great philosophies. My mom's philosophy was nothing is impossible. And my dad's philosophy was find the humor in everything. So with the two of those things, no matter what I saw, I was always, well, nothing's impossible. If they could do it, I could do it. And with my dad's philosophy, I was like, if I tried something and it didn't work, then I would, make a joke out of it. And if it worked, so it works in both ends in the sense that if it worked, I could use it in my motivational speaking. If it didn't, I could use it in my stand-up comedy. So either way, I was always able to, utilize anything that I did. And they were just regular, blue class working, people. My mom worked at a garment factory, so, doing patterns. And my dad was a truck driver. And then later on, he was in construction. And then later on, I wrote a book about it, put it this way, called Almost the Wise Guy. He had one brother, a highly decorated police officer, and the other one that was in the mob. So he went the full gamut. But the thing is, every time I would see something as a kid, I was always like, for example, when I went to the circus and I would see the people riding on the bicycle, and then they would have like another person on top, another person on top, another person on top on each other's shoulders. I would come home and I would tell my sister, get on my shoulders. My mom would look out the window with me riding with my sister on my shoulders, and instead of saying, get off of there, that's dangerous, she would just yell, watch out for cars. And so I always had that spirit in me, and my mother always said, stand up for what you believe in. So, if if I saw something, another time I was, this was later on in life, I'm like kind of jumping around, but trying to give you a philosophy of where I got how, I could accomplish anything in the world. But if I saw an injustice, like, for example, if I had a parking ticket and I parked in the wrong spot, I wouldn't fight it. But if I got a parking ticket and I knew I did nothing wrong, I would go to court. I'd bring charts. I'd bring statistics from that street, from that road, and, bring letters of recommendation that I never had any points. So, whatever, it's a parking ticket. But still, I would do that, because I believe that you have to stand up for what you did. And it was all the morals that my mom and dad, taught me when I was growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, because I grew up with the same kind of mom and dad that, you speak when you're spoken to, sit on the edge of the chair if you're at somebody's house, mind your manners. But if you've been wronged, fight for yourself. If you haven't, shut up, apologize, and move on. And live and let live, which was sort of the philosophy that my parents grew up with too. What gets you up in the morning, Fran, besides all your social media stuff? I mean, what intrigues you the most, or does it vary from day to day?
Well, no, because it's funny, because I meditate every day, and you're supposed to be quiet and calm when you meditate. I have this thing I use called Muse that monitors your brain waves. So it was tell me 5% calm, 83% calm, 10% calm. And my brain is just always working. Like, if I see something, I'm like, wow, I could actually do that class, write a book about it. But wait a minute. And what if, for example, when I was doing things like when I was young, someone had sent me a book from PETA, which is the People of Ethical Treatment of Animals. I was pregnant at the time, and I was like, I wonder what I could do. And I said, I could write a poem, about animals getting abused. And then I wrote a poem about a rat and some other stuff. And then I was like, what's a poem going to do? And then I was like, you know what? I should have because I'm a stand-up comic, a stand-up for comic, but I would call it stand-up for animals. And then what I did was I actually created this 5-hour event. Here I am, like 6 months pregnant, creating this 5-hour event where all stand-up comics would perform. Each one would do 10 minutes. And then what I did was I called all the different radio stations, and I had the radio stations, if any of the hosts believed in, protecting animals, that they would host that hour. So I had 5 different radio hosts from 5 different radio stations hosting the hour, and then I would have 5 comics each doing 10 minutes and doing that. And then what I did was raise money to stop Dre's testing, which is where they stick stuff in animals in rabbits' eyes. And then I did LD50 tests, which is Lisa Dose 50 tests, where, what you give something to animals, and if the animal chokes on it after giving it 50%, it's not good for humans. And I wanted to stop this testing because there's other ways to do testing. And I also raised money for dolphins that are caught in the fishes. So my whole thing is never to just say, this is terrible. This is horrible the way they do this. If you don't like it, then do something about it. But here's my caveat to that. In a positive way, not burning down a building, not rioting, not, spitting in people's faces, nothing like that. Doing something that teaches people in a positive way the change. So there people are laughing. They see all the comics standing up for animals. People are donating the money. They're learning things they didn't know. And I always believe you do a change in a positive way, never in a negative way.
Do you think that being in the business that we're in, and at one time I was a comic, although my Uncle Tubby used to say that I was in a downward slide of a mediocre career to begin with, but
oh, nice. But he
do you know?
In a funny way. Yeah,
yeah, but do you know, Fran? He used to send people in to heckle me when I first got started.
Wow, was that to make you tougher?
Yeah, to learn how to deal with hecklers on stage and what to do, because you know and I know that that's the number one thing that people in audiences love to do. There's always one jerk in the audience who has had maybe a little too much to drink, or he thinks he's funnier than you. And so Tubby would send people in. My uncle was Tubby Boots, folks. He was a comedian on Miami Beach forever and a day. But and they even have a YouTube channel to him. But do you think that people in show business, though, Fran, are, I'm not going to say more compassionate, but do you think because of the way show business people think, which is slightly to the left or to the right of normal, and I'm not referring to political things, I'm just talking about in general, because we look at things in a bent kind of a way, whether it's good or whether it's bad, but we look at things differently, whether you're a comic or an actor, because you have to focus on yourself. Do you think that show business people are maybe have more compassion towards things in general than the average person, or am I off base on that?
Okay, I feel that's three different questions, so I'm going to answer each one in that. First thing with what your, was your uncle?
Tubby, yeah.
Uncle? Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing a story about Tiger Woods' dad when he was setting up for, to hit a putt or whatever. He would actually scream or cough or do something to try to distract him, to make sure that he stayed focused no matter what sounds was around him. But it's funny because I'm watching the the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel now, and I feel they're dead on with the way that they're presenting the comic business. You're going to bomb at some point anyway. You don't need someone to be sent in there. That's going to happen to everybody. But as far as our actors or show business people more compassionate, you know what? I think they're more creative because their brains work in a different way, but I wouldn't necessarily say that they're more compassionate, because I know a lot of business people, comedians and performers, we're out there. So people see when we're donating our time, when we're donating, where we're up there because we're in the public eye. So it looks like we're more compassionate. I know so many business people that don't even say anything, and every month they're donating to St. Jude's and to this one and to that one and all different organizations and sending Secret Santa things and stuff like that. So I just think it's because we're in the spotlight, we look like we're more compassionate. I don't think that we necessarily are.
I want to get into the comedy side of what you've done, but I also want to talk about something that's very close to you, and I've read the book several times, thanks to you sending me it. You wrote a book, and I say that, and you know what I'm referring to, called Hopeville, the City of Light. Tell everybody how you wrote this book and how it came about, because it is, folks, one of the most amazing stories of how someone just sat down somewhere and started writing and not knowing where the information was coming from.
Well, okay, first I'll start by saying that I've written 21 books. Actually, just finished my 21st book about New York myths and mysteries, handed it into the publisher, and so I'm used to writing books. I write them fast, I focus, I concentrate. I know the topic before I'm going to write the book. Hopeful, the City of Light is different and very special to me because I had no preconceived notion that I was going to write this book or anything. So what happens is, there I am sleeping at 4 o'clock in the morning, even though they're comic hours and they might be up at that hour, but I am sleeping at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have this, at least I think it's a dream, saying, Fran, get up, you have to write a book. So I'm like, wow, this is a really weird dream. So I keep hearing the voice, get up, you have to write this book. And so I get up and I look up, turn the light on, and I'm looking around, I'm like going, oh, that was a really weird dream. I turn it off, go back to sleep, and I hear the voice again, get up, you got to write this book. It has a message that could change the world. And I'm like, oh, this is the weirdest dream. So I turn on the light again, and then I start questioning, am I dreaming that I'm turning on the light or whatever? But now the light is on, and I still hear the voice. And I can't tell you whether it was like a male or female voice. It was indistinct, but it was literally as if someone was over my shoulder whispering to me, hey, Fran, you got to write this book. I mean, that's how clear it was. So, because it like a whisper, I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman or whatever. So I'm over there arguing because it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, look, not for nothing. I hear you. I don't know who you are. I don't know if I'm dreaming or not, but I'm in the middle of writing another book called Adrenaline Adventures. And I don't know what book you're talking about. And they said, write this title down. So I got a pen and piece of paper, and it said, Hopeville, the City of Light. So I write down, Hopeville, the City of Light. I said, I have no clue what this is about. They said, trust us. Get this book out there. It's got, it has a message that'll change the world. So I said, all right, it's 4 o'clock. You'll have to tell me more about this later or whatever, because I'm going back to bed. Next morning, I get up. I take my kid to school. I take my mom to work, and I had to get my car fixed. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take my laptop and I'm going to continue working because I was on deadline to get the book Adrenaline Adventures in. So, and I've never had writer's block in my entire life. So there I am at the car place, and I said to the guy, listen, do you have someplace that I could just, work on my book? He said, it's going to take about 3, I didn't say book. I said, I have someplace that I could type. He said, it's going to take about 3 hours for your car to be fixed. I said, okay, just give me a little corner where I could sit on my laptop. So I start to, and he put me in the back because he was a friend of my husband's. So he put me in the back where all the guys are working and all the stuff. And I start to type Adrenaline Adventures, work on a chapter I was working on. And I physically couldn't type. And I'm like, this is so weird. And I kept trying, and it was like my hands were frozen. I'm like, great, what am I going to do? Stay there for 3 hours and not type? And so then I was like, all right, I got to do something. So then I remembered that I had written down the title, Hope for the City of Light. And so I had the piece of paper, and I had folded it and put it in my pocket. I take it out, and I look at it, and I said, all right, let me try this. And I tried it, and I typed Hope for the City of Light. And for the next 3 hours, I had not a clue what I was typing. When I wrote the words the end, I heard the guy say, Fran, your car's ready. And he goes, I got to say, that was really weird. I go, what? He goes, you didn't move, didn't look like you were breathing, you didn't drink water, you didn't go to the bathroom, it didn't look like you were blinking. I said, I honestly can't tell you what I wrote. I think I wrote a book. He goes, how do you not know? I said, I don't know one word that's on that page. Later on, people explained to me that that's what they call channeling, that some voice or something's coming through you. I said, look, I don't know. I've never had that happen before or after. I mean, I've had where I've heard a voice tell me, you have to go and get your cat off the balcony now. And then I found out my cat was suffering from heat stroke or whatever. I've had voices say, no, tell them they can't go on the motorcycle. I've had, but that was way after. Right now, that time, I've never had to have it. So now I take the book, and I'm like, I leave it because I'm in the middle of doing the deadline for the other book, and I figured, all right, let me finish this book. And a couple of weeks later, I look at it, and I'm like, wow, this book is like a whole story. It's about a little boy who gets bullied, a widowed mother who's holding down 3 jobs, a successful businessman who's given up, getting married, everything, just to build a business, and an old man who has all this knowledge that he wants to give people, but because he's old, they feel like, hey, you're an old man. The same night, they all say a prayer, and an angel of light appears to all of them in their dream and says, if you just do a little something different, you could change the world. And she said, but so you could know which people to trust, I'm going to put a candle. And the brighter the candle, the more, you'll know which people to trust. And if the candle's darker, and each of them, I got questions. I'm just a little boy. How am I going to change the world? I'm just a mother. What if the candle burns? They have all these questions. And the angel just says, please just trust me. So they each go out and do it. They each have their tasks that they do it. And I don't want to spoil the end. But what I will say is the book contains the 44 secrets to happiness. In that book. so at the end of the book, years later, I pulled out the 44 secrets and put it at the end. And actually next year, I'm going to start doing videos, a series of videos that teach the 44 principles, and I'll be putting out one a week. And there's, things that people could discuss in schools. And I do also a talk called Love, Laughter, and Light that I actually have gotten hired, to corporations to speak around the world, not just in the United States. And it's based on the 44 principles. And like you said, it's like The Alchemist meets Think and Grow Rich. But people read the book and they say it's not just a book, it's a way of life. And again, I don't feel I wrote it. I mean, obviously I did write it, but I don't feel the knowledge of what's in there came from me. The knowledge came from whoever gave it to me. Yeah.
We're talking to Fran Capo, who is a motivational speaker, comedian, adventurer, ordained minister, which I didn't really realize, and 19-time spokesperson, consultant, and 6-time world record, best known in the Guinness Book of World Records for the fastest talking woman, which she will qualify a little bit later on as we get to the end of the program. You're listening to the Sunday Express here on 880 The Biz. Gary Allen with you, as I am every Sunday at 5 p.m. Fran, where can they get the book?
The easiest way is to go to Fran Capo, C-A-P-O, like head of the mob, Capo, Capitude, francapo.com, and go to the bookstore. And then I can autograph the book to them. And there's a CD also, because actually a little blind boy was in a church when I was giving a lecture, and he came up to me and said, I would like to read the book, but do you have it in Braille? I said, no, I don't. And then he said, would you ever think of doing it as a CD? And then I said, because you asked me, yes, I will. And then I created a CD, and I actually do I was just originally going to read it, and then I wound up, because I do voiceovers, doing the 16 different characters in the CD.
Wow. What don't you do?
I don't. What I don't do is I don't take no for an answer.
You know something, Fran? That goes back to somebody that I had loved and admired when I was a little boy, who used the saying, and you find it on my Facebook page: if you take no the first time, you'll never get anything done.
I love that saying. Yes.
That came from quarterback Johnny Unitas of the Baltimore Colts when I was a little boy. Now there are times in our business, and you know it, that no is no, and you're not going to get any further with it, and you have to accept it, but you have to keep coming back, no matter what. And
the thing, no is no just for that particular person. It doesn't mean no is no in life. It just means, okay, that person's not on the same page as me. Because just think of a salesperson, and one of the things, I can't believe I'm, quoting like the what was that guy of Wall Street, the Wolf of Wall Street. But he wrote a motivational book afterwards, after he served his time, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things he said in selling was that if somebody is not into buying what you want, instead of sitting there for 20, 30, 40 minutes trying to convince that person, go to somebody else who needs your services. Don't try to sell somebody who's just really not into it. Now, I'm not saying you give up the first time that they say no, because sometimes people just at that moment, you catch them at a bad, moment or whatever. Right now, they don't have the money, but they want to do it, and they have it later. But what I'm saying is if people are going, no, it's never something I'm going to use, and you explain it, and they still say, you know what, there's 1,000 other people who have what you want. And that's why you do niche marketing, because there are people who are all into crocheting and fishing and jumping out of planes, and you know what I'm saying? And those people in the niche markets might want it. Maybe you're just approaching the wrong people when you're doing it. So I never believe no is just, like how I say it is, like God's delays are not denials. So just because that person said no, it feels like you're being denied. No, you're just being delayed by that particular person. Doesn't mean you're being denied to get what it is you want. And sometimes, like whatever. Oh, that's the guy for me. That's the girl for me. I have to have that guy. I have to have that girl.
Oh,
and then you don't get that person. And then people are like, oh, I'll never find love. Well, maybe you didn't go with that person because there's a better person out there for you.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Fran. Let me ask you this. do you consider yourself, and I consider you this, and our dear friend Vicki Rossman and I talked about this a number of times. With your background and everything that you've done, you are basically a teacher teaching all of us out here how to better ourselves, how to combat the forces of evil, for the lack of another term for the moment to put it.
I picture the cape. Yeah, go ahead.
But I mean, let's face it. In show business, you and I and Jeanette and Vicky and everybody, we've had to deal with managers and agents and producers. And sometimes, I've gone on stage many times to audition for something, and I didn't even utter one word, and they go, next. It's a harsh world. Horrible.
And it feels horrible when that happens because, but you have to get used to rejection, first of all, if you're in show business, because much of it depends on somebody else accepting you. But this is what I feel. This is why in the beginning when everybody was, going out and doing, I'm going to be a stand-up comic and do these things, I was like, okay, I'm not going to wait for everybody to tell me, how to get on TV or radio. One of the books I wrote was The Ultimate Guide to Getting Yourself on TV and Radio and in Print, because I just said, I could wait for a manager to get me on or an agent to get me on, or I could just figure out how to do it. And then I did the world's fastest talking thing, which we'll talk about later. But I used that as my hook. The fast talking became my hook. So I said, okay, there's only one world's fastest talking woman. So so I used that as my hook. And then once I got in, I would go, and guess what? I'm also a stand-up comic and a writer. What do you need? You need something, I can do it. And to go back to what you said about being a teacher, I do motivational speaking, and I call it peak performance training. And one of the talks I do, which I actually just updated my reel, so it's on the homepage of my website, francapo.com. It's called How to Have a World Record Mindset and Achieve Anything You Want. And the reason I say that is because anybody who's broken a world record has to have certain principles that allow them to tune out all the negativity on the right or the left, because you're going for something to be the best in the world out of millions and billions of people. And so I teach people those principles. They apply it. They don't have to, break a world record. They apply it to whatever they want to do in life. Whether it's even just being the best father, the best mother, the best teacher, the best karate, teacher, the best plumber. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you learn how to have that mindset. And I do teach that, and I love doing it because I do it through my stories of climbing Kilimanjaro, going down to the wreck side of the Titanic,
which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But we've got about 10, 15 seconds before I got to take a break. We're listening to the great Fran Capo, a comedian, motivational speaker, author, fastest talking woman in the world. And she also went down to the Titanic, which is the most hilarious story in the world. She also climbed I always want to say it's Mount Kilimanjaro. You're listening to the
Mount
Sunday
Kilimanjaro,
Express.
the tallest freestanding mountain in the world.
Yeah. You're listening to the Sunday Express on 880 The Biz. Gary Allen with you. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes right after this.
Introducing the new Palmetto Alfa Romeo, where you can drive Italian luxury for less. If you have 3, 6, 9, or even 12 months left on your car loan or lease, Palmetto Alfa Romeo will pay off your loan or lease, allowing you to trade up to a new luxurious 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia sedan or a new 2019 Alfa Romeo Stelvio SUV. Lease either one, starting as low as $379 per month for 24 months. Absolutely no security deposit. Visit the new Palmetto Alfa Romeo, 13110 Biscayne Boulevard, North Miami. Call us at 305-342-8500. That's 305-342-8500. Or shop online at palmettoalfaromeo.com. Palmetto Alfa Romeo. Excellent service is all we have. Lease the Giulia for $379 per month or the Stelvio for $399 per month for 24 months. $49.39 due at sign with approved credit plus tax tag and fees. Check details online at palmettoalfaromeo.com.
Are you a small business, a nonprofit, or a ministry trying to figure out how to effectively use social media to target the people you want to connect with? Buena Vida Media has affordable solutions customized for your organization. Call us now at 305-345-3461. Again, that number is 305-345-3461, and don't get left behind. 305-345-3461. Again, that number is 305-345-3461.
If you're considering a podcast, contact us to see how easy it is to get started. Podcasting gets more popular every day, and all of the tools that you need to create a great podcast are right here at Salem Media. Our special introductory package includes a month worth of podcasts, production, distribution, and management, and even a co-host if needed. You're welcome. All for $175. Don't wait. Take advantage of this great offer now. 305-644-0800, the premier podcast studios. Salem Media. That's 305-644-0800. 880thebiz.com.
Now back to more of the Sunday Express with Gary Allen on AM 880 The Biz.
And welcome back, everybody. Gary Allen here with you. My guest is Fran Capo, the fantastic motivational speaker, comedian, adventurer, ordained minister, etc. She's also an author. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records for being one of the fastest talking women. To all of you out there, Merry Christmas. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us here on the Sunday Express. Hope you make it a regular spot for you to listen as we continue to move forward into the new year. Fran, I want to get into, because it's the most hilarious story in the world, the way you tell it. And remember, we're on live radio, of how you got to go down into the Titanic, how it happened, and the three things that you have to qualify in order to go down to the Titanic, and explain to people how far down in the ocean the Titanic is.
Okay, so the way that it actually happened because I had written a book initially, and then I wanted to figure out something cool to do with the book. So it leads in from the Kilimanjaro story. What happened was I was doing this book, Adrenaline Adventures, and I was like checking about this rock climbing thing. So I called the guy, and I was like, "Well, what do you have to do? You guys still doing the rock climbing?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, we also do mountain climbing now." And I was like, "Mountain climbing?" I said, "Well, no, I'm not interested in that." He goes, Yeah. He goes, "Oh, you can climb," and he named some mountain, like Mount Bob or whatever it was. And I'm like, "Listen, if I'm going to climb a mountain, it's got to be something, I know." So then he goes, "What about Kilimanjaro?" I said, "Yeah." And then I go, "I'm not going to," I said, "Well, what do you have to do to climb Kilimanjaro?" He said, "Well, you would have to train, running up and down the stairs or doing bicycle riding or whatever." And so I'm like, "All right, listen, I don't know about this climbing Kilimanjaro. Do you do rock climbing?" So yes. So then I look it up, and I find out that an 83-year-old woman climbed Kilimanjaro. And I'm like, if an 83-year-old woman could climb Kilimanjaro, so could I. Of course, I didn't realize she was in a wheelchair and got airlifted up there. So I'm like, all right, fine. So now I run into my son's room. "Spencer, guess what we're going to do? We're going to climb Kilimanjaro." And he looks at me and he goes, "I don't even like to walk." I'm like, "No, you're missing the point. The glaciers are going to melt by the year 2015. And he's like, "It was 2010. He goes, "Mom, we got time." I'm like, no, that's the wrong attitude. So now we start doing we did a 5-mile bike ride, not a 5-mile bike ride, a 50-mile bike ride. Then we did a 100-mile bike ride. And I was going to go up and down the stairs, but of course then I started thinking to myself, I'm on a 2-story building. How boring is that? I'll walk up and down the stairs and have to change the pictures every 10 minutes because I'll be bored going up and down the stairs. So now we get to, we're going to climb Kilimanjaro. We get all the stuff ready. And every day we're climbing, my son's like, "Mom, it's not getting any closer." I go, no, it's getting closer. And he goes, "Okay." So the night before we summit, they wake you up at midnight so that you could see the sunrise at the top of the mountain. Mm-hmm. So we thought we were going to do it, and it's freezing cold. They had said to us that it might get down to 10 degrees. Well, it was minus 15 degrees, 45-mile-an-hour wind. So we're climbing, and my son's going, "Mom, we're going to die." I'm like, "We're not going to die." He's like, "Mom, we're going to die." I go, "We're not going to die." And then I'm thinking, we're going to die. I'm like, what was I thinking? So we get to the top of Kilimanjaro, and, I have everybody lined up. There's other people up there. They're looking at me. I'm like, well, you're up here. Why don't you buy a book? And they're like, a book? I go, what else are you going to do? You're going to stand there, take a picture, buy a book. So there's a picture on my website under World Records of me standing there with my son and everybody online buying a book. That picture circulates around the world. And out of the blue, I get an email from Ryan Day O'Connor. At that point, I didn't realize it was Sandra Day O'Connor's son, the former U.S. Supreme Court Justice. So he says, Fran, I think it's amazing that you climbed Kilimanjaro. I didn't know a woman like you existed. P.S. I'm going down to the Titanic. So I'm like, hey, any room for another person? He goes, what do you mean? I go, I didn't know people could go down to the Titanic. And then he said, yeah. So I said, well, could you ask? So I figured, all right, we'll I didn't think like how much money is it going to cost or anything like that. I'm like, all right, I can go down to the Titanic. So now I call the people. I said, all right, so what are the requirements to go down to the Titanic? They said, well, there's 3 requirements. First thing is you can't have high blood pressure. I said, no problem. I said, what's the second thing? They said, second thing is you can't be claustrophobic. I said, why? They said that the submersible that you go in is only 7 feet, and you're going to go 2.5 miles down to the bottom of the ocean. I said, okay, so what if I am claustrophobic and I get down there? They go, oh, we have to shoot you with a dart gun. I'm like, a dart gun? They said, yeah, we can't have you panic. I said, well, what's the third thing? They said, you can't have excessive flatulence. I said, why? They said, it's pure oxygen. If you fart too much, you could blow up, the thing. And I'm going, that's the last thing I want. Fast talker blows up Titanic with her, flight. So now I didn't know how much was too much, but I didn't want to ask them because I didn't want to get thrown off. So I look it up and find out that the average person farts 18 times a day. So I start counting. By the time it was bedtime, I had 12, and I said, well, less than 6 more in my sleep, I'm good. So now I'm all set. I'm going to go down to Titanic. And I figured, well, I might as well do something if I'm down there. So I decided that I would become an ordained minister so that I could say a prayer down by the wreck site. So now we come to the time we're going to go down. And this, if you've seen the movie The Titanic, you remember in the beginning of the movie where they have the chest and they think that the blue diamond is in there, and they open it up and there's nothing, that comes out, just the water and some paper. The guy standing behind that is Anatoly Salgovich. He's the one who drives the mirror, and he goes, no diamonds in the movie, right? So now he's the one, heavy Russian guy. He's designed the mirrors. And so when we get on the Keldysh, which is the ship that they have it, you draw straws for who's going to go down first, second, third, fourth into these little submersibles. So I draw the straw, and the Japanese woman draws the straw. So it's me, the Japanese woman, and the Russian guy that's going to go down. And the whole time we're going there, I'm like, man, this is like the United Nations. And she keeps going, me number 1 Japanese to go down. Me number 1 Japanese to go down. I'm like, all right. We get it. So now I say, well, how long are we going to be down there? They said 12 hours. I said, oh, there's a bathroom. They go 7 feet. There's no bathroom. I said, well, what if I have to go to the bathroom? Oh, no problem. 24 hours before you stop eating. 10 hours before you stop drinking. And I said, well, what if I do that and I still have to go to the bathroom? They said, we give you a packet. I'm like, a packet of what? They go, we give you a packet. You put it up against your body. You wear a little shower curtain. You stand on the chair and you pee next to the pilot's head. I said, I am not peeing next to the pilot's head. So I figured I wear it depends. But then I'm thinking, there's 3 of us in there. If all of a sudden it's smelling, it's not like they can't figure out, like, who's the other person. So I figured this was going to eat, what's it going to drink? So now we're going down, and you spiral down, and after like 500 feet, total darkness. And there's 3 windows, one for the guy to look out, the pilot, Anatoly, one for the Japanese lady to look out, one for me to look out. And the little window's only like 6 inches. And so we get down, and everything down there is albino. And now he turns on the lights in the mirror, and we see it, and she's trying to take pictures. And she goes, I need to take more picture. And the guy's getting all mad. He goes, you took 1,000 pictures of the bow. We need to move on. She goes, no, I need to take more picture. She goes, I have idea. We're going to back up, take picture whole ship. He goes, no one take picture whole ship. Too big. She goes, no, we back up. He goes, I have a better idea. Next time I put you outside submarine. She goes, okay. I go, do you understand he wants to kill you? And she just had like no clue, but it was so awesome. And, we were there. Only 108 people in the world have been down to the Titanic. More people have been out to outer space than down to the Titanic.
What were you feeling? I mean, other than the Japanese woman, what were
annoying
you thinking?
me and wanting to.
Yeah. What was going through your mind when he turned on the light and you saw this ship for the first time? What went through your mind?
I'm telling you, Gary, it is so surreal because you're staring at it. Now, meanwhile, the night before, they had all of us watch the movie on the boat, the Titanic. So because you're looking out the window, I literally had to keep saying to myself, okay, you're really at the bottom of the ocean staring at the ship. This is not a movie. Out that window, 10 feet from you is the real Titanic. And the thing was, the mast and everything is down. I have actually a video of it on my website also, but the mast is down, and these things called rusticles eat the ship at a rate of 2,000 pounds per day.
Wow.
And they're bacteria that do this. So it's got like no integrity left to it. Like you could push a finger and you'd poke a hole through the pole where the mast was. Right. So you're looking at it and you're going, oh my God, this is where all those people were. But it's just so hard to really wrap your head around that you're really at the bottom of the ocean. And, but then as he was going around, because we were down there for like 6-7 hours, and then you start to see a bathtub, and you start to see tiles from the cigar room and a first-class water basin, and then you see the mast, the pirates, not pirates, the pilots. Spinning wheel, whatever you call it, the captain wheel. And then you start seeing like lights with, the little electrical fixtures in it. And then they tell you, okay, this is where the grand staircase was. You're trying to, because it's a wreck, it's the wreck side of the Titanic. So you're trying to envision, where, oh wow, this is the opening of where the grand staircase was. And then there was this one fish. It was hysterical because there's this one albino fish that kept us going by front and back in front. No other fish. We did see this albino starfish. And I said, why is there only one fish down there? They said, we don't know. This is the one fish that obviously is not camera shot. We come down here, we don't see anything else but this one fish. And I'm like, he must be like the star of the Titanic, down there. And so it is just such an awesome feeling. And, they're building a replica of the Titanic. I was
going to ask you, do you plan on finding a way, you and your hubby, to sail on the Titanic too? It's finished, by the way.
Well, yes, that is one of the things I'm working on. I don't know if my husband wants to come on with me, but I'm going to work on that.
You know what? Here's something funny. I heard a friend of mine, Mark Riccondondo, who's a comedian. He said it would be horrible if they set the thing out to sail and the Titanic 2 had the same disaster the Titanic 1 had.
Oh yeah, that would be horrible. If anybody even serves an ice cube on that ship, it's probably not a good thing.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's a miniature iceberg. No, I think the thing with with that is they did say they're doing it in the exact replica, except they're going to make sure there's enough life jackets and it's going to be the updated the lifeboats. Because that would be the last thing. If I hear that band saying we're going down with this ship, that's it. You know what? When me and my husband went on a cruise, it's a regular cruise, not even, on the Titanic, he would bring, because, a lot of times, like, something happens and then the toilets aren't working. My husband brings a spare toilet on cruise ships with us. He says, because when the toilets aren't working, you're not allowed to use them, sometimes. And then when, those things that were happening where everybody was getting sick on the boats and stuff.
Right.
And my husband said, nope, we're going to have our own. So it's like one you would bring when you camp. It's like a toilet, a spare toilet.
Oh, yeah, the porta potty kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like that stuff. And he goes, listen, we'll be fine. And so I'm like, all right, I'll bring a spare toilet. Let's see if I can bring a blow-up raft. Like I'm thinking like all these things I could bring, just in case. Bring a whistle,
Yeah. We're talking to Fran Capo, Gary Allen with you on the Sunday Express right here on 880 The Biz. Hope you join us every Sunday at 5. Next Sunday will be a repeat of one of the three first shows. We got a great new year lined up for you. But Fran is one of my dear friends, comedian, speaker, adventurer, and she's just telling us a little bit about going down to the Titanic. Did you get to see both sections of the Titanic? I believe it's the front section, and then the second section is a little ways away.
Yeah, the bow and the stern, and there's about a 15-minute, ride of the submersible to the other thing. The stern is pretty undiscernible. Like you look at it, and it just kind of looks like except for the gigantic fan, it looks pretty much, just like a pile of rust and metal, whereas the bow is very very distinguishable. And what's cool too is that you think that so now you can't do that because first of all the Russians own the Keldysh, the boat, and they own the submersibles. We're not on the best terms right now with them, so they're not letting anybody down. And the scientists were recently there, so we thought, maybe there's other, like people said, oh, maybe I'll go do it with you another time, blah, blah. First of all, when I went down, I did it through sponsorship, and I got it was $35,000.
Wow.
For people to go down, scientists to go down, it's $65,000 per person. But the other thing is no civilians are allowed down there, anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I was really, really lucky in that I was able to go down when I did. And they were doing all different articles on me at the time, daring descent to take Titanic Pete, the Daily News did. And it leaves at a Nova Scotia at an island called St. John's in Newfoundland. So because that's where the Titanic was en route from England to New York. So it's 32 hours out of Newfoundland, but that's the base where the Keldysh leaves from when they're doing it. So it's just, it's an awesome thing if you go to the website and see it, but it was just so funny with the excessive flatulence. I'm like, who would think you could blow up the that's the last thing I want. Fast talker blows it up, that's an embarrassing way to go out in history.
Here's an interesting thought. It just hit me. Have you thought about going up into space with Richard Branson's new spacecraft?
Well, no, I haven't thought about that. I did talk to someone about that, but what I did this past Valentine's Day, my husband gave this to me as a gift, is a thing called Zero G, and it's where they filmed the movie The Apollo, and it's basically a gutted 747, and the video of that is also on my website. It's a gutted 747, and it seats about 50 people, and they deploy from different places all around the United States, but we did it from LaGuardia Airport. They clear a 100-mile corridor and a 10-mile wide corridor of airspace. And what happens is the plane takes off and you're seated, buckled in. When it gets to 24,000 feet, everybody unbuckles and you go into three sections, the blue, the gold, and the silver section, and you lay down on the floor. And then the plane goes up to 32,000 feet and does a parabola. It does like an arch. And when it's arching over to come back down to 24,000 feet for 30 seconds, there is zero gravity. And you literally lift off the floor and you float. Now, it is not like in water, so you can't like move your arms to float around. There's no resistance. It's zero gravity. So you're floating, and then all of a sudden they say, get down, get down, get down, and then you have to quickly get down to the floor and lie down. Otherwise, you'll be on the ceiling, and you fall down. So they do that 13 times, so it gives you like 8 minutes of float time. So it was such an awesome feeling. So that's the closest I've come to, and that's the only where on Earth where you could experience zero gravity just like astronauts do. So I've actually already experienced that, but I have not been to outer space yet. But the next thing I'm going to do is I want to rappel down a volcano. And for New Year's, what we do, I want to do that so badly. In Iceland, they have one that you can do that. And
I can just see the headline now. Fast talking comedian motivation speaker is now crispy critter.
Well, it's funny because I've bicycled down a couple of volcanoes. I've actually gone in, what was the one in Italy, Mount Vesuvius.
Mount Vesuvius.
When we arrived, the guy goes, first thing I need to tell you is a volcano can erupt at any time, but our concern is we get Americans out first. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Italian, and I don't even believe that. I said, they're not going to everybody's going to be running. And then so my friend that was with me, Lisa Wernick, she's like, you still want to go up there? I go, even if we stay down here and it explodes, what's the difference? So let's just go up and do it. So we did. So we climbed that mountain. And, that volcano, I just love that type of stuff. But, the other thing is when I do my motivational speaking, I talk about all these different stories about, like I had said, eating fire, holding alligators, swimming with sharks, bungee cord jumping, fishing with wolves, all these different, adventures I've done. And then I tell people, how to not have fear, how to go through life, living, life to the fullest. And so I do that, talk creativity and marketing, all different things. You know what it is? I say live every day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right. And on that last day, you don't want to be doing the laundry.
Before we get into the surprise for everybody, and you're going to read to us here in just a couple of minutes, the night before Christmas, we've got a few minutes before then. What's the end game for you when it's all said and done? If God came to you tomorrow and said, Fran, you could only do one thing for the rest of your life, what would that be besides being a mother and a wife? What would you pick to do for the rest of your life? Out of all the things you do, writing, comedian, what have you, you've done talk shows, what would be the one thing you'd say, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
That's a hard one because I feel they're all tied in. I guess it would be do motivational speaking, humorous motivational speaking around the world. Because then at least I'm passing on all the things I've learned through my life, making people laugh, but also teaching them how to live a very, very full life.
Yeah. Well, we've been listening to Fran Capo here on the Sunday Express on 880 The Biz. And for all of you who love the story of the night before Christmas, Miss Fran Capo will now treat us to why she is considered the fastest talking woman in the world to a night before Christmas. Fran, the microphone is yours.
Since the night before Christmas, an altar at the house, and a creature was stirring, not even a mouse and stockings were hung with the chimney with care and hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children are nestled snug in their beds, and the sugar bugs dance with their heads, and a mom and a crunch of an eye, and my cat would just settle down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn, there rose such a clatter, I sprang to the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window, I flew like a flash, opened the shutters and drew up the sash. The moon on the breast and the new fallen snow gave lustre to midday, the objects below. Well, what am I wondering? I should have been with a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little driver so lively and Nick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. Well, rapid and eager, of course, as he came, and he whistled and shouted and called him by name. Now, that's it, that's it, right to the rest of the common given, a common affliction. The top of the porch, the top of the walnut, that's right, all. And so I leaned up before the wild hurricane fly when they meet with an obstacle mounted to the sky. So up to the house, up the courses they flew with a sleigh full of toys at St. Nicholas, too. And he called out of sight, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Fantastic, Fran. And I wish you well. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the Sunday Express. I appreciate it. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And, of course, you and I will talk on the other side of the new year when I have my new phone number and everything. But thank you so much for joining us here on the Sunday Express.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you very much. And any of your listeners, please go to francapo.com. Let me know that you heard me on Gary's show. And if you wind up getting anything, I'll throw in a little something at you just because you're a friend of Gary's.
All righty. Thank you so much. And to all of you out there, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us here on Sunday, as we are with you every Friday. Yeah, every Sunday at 5 p.m. here on 880 The Biz. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Feliz Navidad. Until next time on the Sunday Express, please take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.
You've been listening to the Sunday Express with Gary Allen on AM 880 The Biz. Tune in next week for more great talk on the Sunday Express with Gary Allen, right here on AM 880 The Biz.